feel stink-eyed. We try our best, and we're successful. Come watch our show that River sponsors. It's time to start. Enjoy the show.
Welcome, everyone. It's Betting Weekly Live on Tuesday, the 3rd of December. You're with Steve Wyss and Jack Wright. Plenty to look ahead to today. We've got 2 Premier League games on the card. Mallorca against Barcelona in La Liga. League 1 and League 2 football as well, in addition to a massive German Cup match. And with an under-the-weather Jack Wright today.
Yes, indeed. And that's my turn. It's my turn to catch something nasty, but I'm sure it'll soon disappear again. But yeah, I'm going to get confused now. I think today's Friday. It's only Tuesday.
Just got to crack on. I'm going to start us off with a match in La Liga today. I don't actually have a bet on this one, but Rory Barlow was discussing the game yesterday with Dan Roebuck. He actually has a pick for the game. Barcelona win and under 3.5 goals, I think was the pick from Rory. If you want a really in-depth discussion about that game and just listen to yesterday's live show, thought he made some very good points. And to be honest with you, points I can't really expand on. At the end of the day, he's the La Liga expert for a reason. But just as a breakdown, Mallorca now actually into plus 540. There's been quite a bit of money for Barcelona, minus 210 now on the money line for them. Over 3.5 goals is at minus over 2.5 goals at minus 148, under 2.5 goals at plus 117. I think it's natural that there will be an expectation that Barcelona come back here and get a win. They're winless in 3 games. They've lost 2 of their last 3. Unsurprisingly, the splits for the game, 98% of the tickets are on Barcelona, 99% of the money is on them. The over money, only 55% of the money is on the 45% of the money is on the over. 55% of the money is on the under. As was discussed on yesterday's show, the public do like the under on this game. And this is a really good stat that a producer behind the scenes, Troy, sent me today. The under 2.5 goals market has hit in each of Mallorca's last 6 home matches when they are the underdog. So that's a big, really important trend to consider there. I'm not getting involved in this game myself. I think it's a tough one. Mallorca are a really awkward side. They've got a manager who historically is quite good in one-off games at producing game plans against big teams. And I think if Barcelona were heading into this game with 6 or 7 wins in a row, I'd be looking at it as a bit of a banana skin. It still has to be a banana skin, really, although I think there's a presumption that they can't go 4 games without a win. Best guess, I would say 0-1, 0-2. So I do like Rory Barlow's play.
Yeah, well, as we've said, there's no better man in La Liga than Rory, is there? So I'll nail my colours to that mast as well and row in with him, absolutely. Lewandowski did catch my eyes. Generally expected him to be slightly worse price than what he is. He's minus 103 to score. That's quite unusual, I think, for him, given the record that he's got. He's also scored 2 or more goals in 6 of his 11 games so far this season for Barcelona, and he scored 2 in this last season. So if you're fancying a smaller stake on what you'd classify as a low risk, high reward, he's plus 480 to repeat the trick. So that's obviously a decent opportunity. And he's minus 103 for over 1.5 shots on target, which is something I tend to like to do with the elite strikers that rather than needing them to score a couple of goals, then let's say, just a couple on target, and that's a decent price. Same price as it is for him to score.
The most wagered on player prop today, the 3rd most wagered player prop, is actually under 4.5 shot attempts from Robert Lewandowski. However, the 3rd most popular player prop is Robert Lewandowski to have at least 1 shot on target. So a real mixed bag there. I think he is the sort of guy you would trust to hit the target. He's not a wild shooter, is he? Like, he's not gonna, shoot when stupidly. He's quite clever. He's a very experienced striker.
Yeah, it's rare that he'll throw up 9 shots and like none of them on target or something like that. He's generally pretty accurate, and he likes to sniff in around the sort of penalty spot, 6-yard box, and take those chances. So yeah, as always, like I said, this back Rory with that one, he's the main man.
Another interesting bet for the game: $1,000 has been wagered on Barcelona under 6.5 total shots on target. So there's a few bettors out there who are looking to go against the grain, to go against the sort of the perception of things, which is never a bad thing sometimes. But best of luck with Rory's play on that. He had a good winner yesterday on the show in the Osasuna game, and he's been pretty hot actually when he's been doing the live shows this year. So that Barcelona win under 3.5 goals. If you want to listen to that explanation yesterday, then do feel free. The other game on the list there that I put for today is Bayern Munich against Bayer Leverkusen in the DFB Pokal. This is the German Cup, a massive game. We're only at the last 16 stage of the tournament, but the winner of this one probably goes on to lift the trophy. Really, if we're being logically honest, I mean there'll be some other teams that will have a go at me for saying that, but these are the two most likely winners. Bayern Munich are the favourites for the game, minus 159 now with Bet Rivers at the time of going live. So there's been a slight drift. You won't get Bayern at a bigger price all season at home, domestically, by the way. No chance of that. You might in the Champions League, but no way domestically. Leverkusen plus 380 now on the money line. They've been nibbled in a little bit. Over 2.5 goals is minus 175. I really like the goals in this game. And I was just going to be looking at a straight over 2.5, which was at minus 150 not so long ago. But instead now I think we'll go into the Asian goal line mark. And I think over 3 goals is at plus 102. And I think this would be possibly my best bet of the day. I just think cup games, they can go crazy. It's not like the league where you can get tetchy. A draw's okay. A draw's not really okay here. Overly, you know what I mean? I think both teams, it's in their advantage to get the job done in the 90 minutes. And 2 attack-minded teams who are going to go at each other. The original game was 1-1. Yes, Harry Kane's injured. Yes, Boniface is injured, but there's a lot of decent depth for both teams on that. I mean, Schick's been going very, very well for Leverkusen. You could almost argue in terms of like just an actual finisher, Fox in the box. He's better than Boniface. Obviously, Boniface brings a lot more different dynamics to the game. Yeah. And Bayern Munich, I think it's a lot harder to replace Kane. And I think you can't replace Harry Kane. So but they've got a lot of players who can sort of interchange and maybe even change the system, shadow strikers sort of things. Thomas Muller, I'm a little bit worried about him. I think he's about done, I'm afraid. But, you know, he's an old dog, isn't he? So I like that over 3 Asian goals, Bayern Munich, by Leverkusen, DFB Pokal, plus 102. That would be my best bet of the day, actually, Jack.
Yeah, nice one. I went unders purely because I've got not a strong opinion on it, so I kind of rode against it really on the basis that the last couple have been relatively tight. You kind of fear it, really, don't you, when you go unders in any German football, really? But with these two, we know they can light the touch paper and it can completely kick off. So I'd take it again tentatively that I'll go in with this one under 2.5 at plus 128, small stake.
You like. I've seen you before. You like going unders in the big games, don't you? Like when it's in the general big matchups in the sort of between the biggest teams in each league. It's your sort of play, isn't it? And you've had success with that. In fairness,
I think we're so used, especially in Bundesliga, where we're seeing Leverkusen, we're seeing Bayern Munich to a certain degree, Leipzig and Dortmund as well, that when they take on some of these lesser lights, they kind of drop their guard a little bit, and they score plenty, but they also let a couple in as well. So it can be a real carnage as far as goals are concerned. So when they're then against each other, you got a bit more pride at stake on this one. Obviously, this is it's just the quarterfinals, isn't it? Is it quarterfinals?
This is the last
round of 16.
Round of 16. Yeah, I mean there are other games on, by the way, today in the Pokal. I think there's one more we got on there. Werder Bremen against Darmstadt. Werder Bremen. This is a Bundesliga 1 against Bundesliga 2 matchup. minus 195 now. Werder Bremen, they've been backed in. I was looking at them. I thought minus 167 was generous, but now you're gonna be looking at handicaps with the cup games. You're gonna get a lot more volatile line movements quickly. Odds can change very quickly on the games depending on the lineups. There'll be leaked team news going around right now in these cup games in the DFB Pokal. But realistically, Werder Bremen, they're not doing too badly this season. This is a good chance against Bundesliga 2 opponents. We've got Arminia Bielefeld against Freiburg as well, and Jan Regensburg against VfB Stuttgart. I mean, wouldn't surprise me to see the Freiburg, Stuttgart, and Werder Bremen win. The German Cup is fairly serious, but there has been some shock teams. I mean, last season, I think, was it a third division side made the final, Saarbrücken?
Yes, they did, didn't they, against Leverkusen?
You've got to be careful here. And at the end of the day, I don't know enough about Jan Regensburg. I don't know enough about Arminia Bielefeld. I know more about Darmstadt, but I'll be tentatively leaning towards Werder Bremen. Now, we've got 2 Premier League games, which, don't worry, we are going to come to that soon. But we've also got a full card of League 1 and League 2 fixtures. Loads of games across the board. Not quite sure why this is, Jack. Is it because of like the cup rounds and things like that? Along those sort of lines, I think. Anyway,
yeah, there's a few cups, isn't there? So they kind of then cram these in. So it's just League 1 and League 2, no Championship this time. So I'm assuming this is because of a like midweek EFL trophy or something like that. But so plenty to get stuck into here. Some very tough games, to be perfectly honest with you. But a couple that sort of catch the eye. There's 2 teams at the top there that I'll tell you for now, I don't think I've ever got right. I just can't call Wrexham and Barnsley.
Well, I mean, Wrexham obviously plus 130 favourites here. Barnsley, I mean, if you had said this 3 or 4 years ago, you'd be like, wow, because Barnsley, we're often in the Championship. Barnsley not doing that badly this year. Are they a little bit? Will they look at those odds and think they're a little bit disrespected? I mean, Wrexham are a household name now because of the streaming. Yeah. The series, what is it called? I forget what it's actually called, but it's on, is it Disney? Something like that, on Netflix?
I think it is. Yeah, I think it is.
Whatever, anyway. But so they're often quite a big public bet now, Wrexham, in this league. There was a match you wanted to talk about here, Exeter Wycombe, because Wycombe are like printing money right now, Jack. Minus 109 on the money line. Yeah. Was it 10 in a row?
11 games in all competitions in a row. So they're anyone who's been backing them over the last 2 months or so been cashing every single time. They have needed a couple of late goals a couple of times, but they're getting the job done. Matt Bloomfield is the manager in there. They ex-player there. He went and he was in charge of Colchester, so my nearest club actually to here, professional wise anyway. Down in the bottom of League 2, and they plucked him out of there, put him in, and he's done a sensational job at Wycombe, and he's attracting a lot of interest. So whether he gets Wycombe up into the Championship or some of the other sides up there want to take a little punt on him, then I expect him to be in the Championship either by the end of this season or certainly beginning of next. And of course that really causing a few issues, because Birmingham were the nailed on complete odds on favourites to win the title. They play tomorrow. But they've struggled and they've lost a few games, and everyone expected them to make it a bit of a procession. I think the open top bus was already booked and they're ready to go and celebrate, but it's not been quite that way. So we'll have to see what they can do tomorrow. But they could be in a playing catch up come that time. Like I say, when a side has won 11, it's getting to that point where that is an unsustainable run. Even especially when they're away from home against a side that aren't too bad. You think they're going to drop points somewhere along the line very, very soon, be it a draw or even if they're a game that they go and batter them and can't get a breakthrough. So I'd like to be looking against them at the moment throughout these next few games until they do lose one, and then possibly even back them to lose back-to-back, which is often the way, isn't it?
Just looking at this, though, Exeter, not even a top 10 team right now. Minus 109. Wycombe have won 11 straight. I can imagine they will be a very, very... I mean, I'm just looking through the comments here. Wrexham, not Rick. Duncan says Wycombe over 1.5 team total goals. Wycombe banker for Diski. I mean, they're going to be a banker in a lot of people's books here. Wycombe are unreal, says Reese. Richard Kane is on fire. Kone, sorry, not Kane.
Yeah, he's been sensational. He
The
scored a perfect
Buckinghamshire
hat-trick in about
Messi.
12 minutes. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that is right. So, absolutely done superb stuff there. So, yeah, I can see why they're very popular. They'll certainly go in the parlays as well, won't they? And maybe even watered down lines on that. But yeah,
A word of caution from you. Word of caution.
yeah, I think
Yeah.
Exeter are no mugs at this level,
Mm.
and it is a long way to go to Exeter from
St
anywhere,
James's
really. To
Park.
be fair, yes, indeed,
St James's
it
Park.
is.
Both St
Yeah,
James. Both St James's Parks are miles away for
they are.
visiting teams usually in this country. Wycombe moneyline ROI is
Look at
at
that.
is that 57%? It can't be plus 57
57.2%.
units. 57.2%.
ROI. Yeah.
Jake says he's watched Wycombe play Villa in the cup, and they look very Wycombe are a tiny to watch a bit of Wycombe.
Mate, this is all paraphrased to say Jack's talking out of his backside. That's what this is coming out. We'll see what happens tonight.
Or they've been talked up so much here that there's some sort of a
We'll see.
letdown.
But that's a great stat from Dan there. I love his stats
very
on
good
return on investments and over and unders and that. And that's basically because they were very big odds at the start of the season. No one expected them to be even challenging for the playoffs, but they've done a great job. Yeah, done a great job. So yeah, I like it when one of the sort of minnows ruffles a few feathers. But as far as the bet's concerned, in my pocket, I'd be looking at potentially having a little fade at some point in time.
Duncan
I
is
like
a
this
Wycombe
comment
fan.
here.
Duncan's a Wycombe fan. Peter, our
Yes.
Lobo, just got here. Welcoming Peter. What's your best bet of the day? Let us know what you're on. Reese says it reminds him of Plymouth 22-23. Everyone waiting for them to fall off.
Yeah,
but it never
and
happened.
they didn't.
No, they didn't. Reading looks good value, says Peter.
I agree.
And Jack says he's going to back them till they get beat. There'll be people riding this wagon now on Wycombe who've got on the wagon, maybe when they've won 3 or 4, and you keep betting them until they don't win. And I've been there myself before with teams. And when you've won so much on them, you don't mind if they lose. But it's a hard wagon.
It's nice to get out at the right time, isn't it?
Yeah, get out at the right time. That'd be great. There's a bet that you like in League 2. We got the League 2 card as well. Some interesting fixtures across the board here. Salford City against my local team, Harrogate Town.
Yes.
Plus 385, Harrogate Town. But the game that you have as an interest in here comes MK Dons against Chesterfield. This is a spicy game. MK Dons were one of the favourites, weren't they, pre-season?
They were.
This league. Yeah. Which direction are you heading here, Jack?
I'm going to leave the money line and I'm going on goals here. I backed MK Dons at the start of the season. I thought under Mike Williamson it was going to be a fairly strong campaign, and it was not. It completely fell apart. So, but they've got Scott Lindsay in, who we saw on the old graphic, or the last graphic there was at Crawley. He got them promoted last season, completely against all expectations. They were favourites to get relegated last season, and they made it to the playoffs and got to Wembley and won there. So they've plucked him from Crawley to then come and do the job again, and he's been on a fantastic run. Really, really strong run, and they're winning games, but there's lots of goals in those games as well. And they take on a Chesterfield side that also were one of the ones that were expected to be challenging at the top of the table this season. So this is certainly a battle of two sides that think they've got a right to be calling themselves favourites for promotion. So I've gone with the over 3 goal line on this one. Here it is. That is plus 112. You generally know how I like to bet, Steve. When it's anything like this, I tend to go with the that line rather than a 2.75 and take potentially a half win. I like to go for the full value on it. Obviously, if there's exactly 3 goals, then we get a full refund. If there's 4 or more, we cash the ticket at plus money. And Chesterfield are joint top scorers in League 2. And they've also seen the most goals scored in the division, 50 in 17 games for them. That's an average 2.94 across the whole campaign. 10 of 17 have gone over 2.5 goals, and 6 of that 8 away as well. Now, the key thing here is we've got Lindsay in, as I said, as the manager at MK Dons, and he's really turned things around there. They're scoring goals, they're winning games, lots of confidence. They've last 5 under him have gone over. He's only been in charge of 10 games in total. I think it's 7 in the league. And the first 2 went under. The last 5 have all gone over. And the last 4 have all seen 4 or more goals, which will give us a full cash on this ticket. So again, if people want to be a bit bolder, lower the stakes a little bit and go over 3.5 goals, then I wouldn't put you off. This looks like a real cracker. 2 points between the two sides in the league, and I think they'll be going head to head here, and I expect a good few goals.
Yeah, I've seen a bit of Chesterfield this season. They're often on TV. I think they're quite a popular team for that. And they do have a go, don't they? They really play attack-minded, positive on the front foot. Just a comment about Port Vale there. I mean, he says Poet Vale. It has been like poetry in motion for Port Vale. I mean, no one expected Port Vale to be up there, Jack, at this stage of the season, did they? Top of the league after 17 games. Whether they can keep it up, I'm not sure.
Yeah, Darren Moore in charge there. So he's a manager that is thought of as a really good man manager, so he can put his arm around players, get the best out of them. We wonder about his tactical abilities to a certain degree, especially the higher level. He's managed in the Championship with Sheffield Wednesday. He got them out of the League One with an incredible playoff success, having been 4-0 down, I think, in the first leg. So you can see what they like, and they've done exceptionally well. Robbie Williams' team as well. So there we have it.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of a pun now with Robbie Williams-esque, but that's actually a top 2 battle. Port Vale versus Walsall this evening. Bit of a local derby to an extent as well, I think. I don't know whether there's a rivalry there or not. Let us know if you've got any Port Vale or Walsall fans in the chat. So let's move on to the Premier League then. Now, many of you watching this show right now will have already seen the Premier League show. It was out yesterday with Jack, Nigel, Dan. And both these games, Ipswich Town against Crystal Palace and Leicester City against West Ham, were discussed. So I'm not going to, if you've not seen that already, then do give it a watch after this show. There's plenty of times to get on it. There's some official bets, official picks. I think Nigel's hot dogs involved. You've got a 1-unit play as well. But I've had a look myself. I've got a couple of prop plays that I'm going to discuss about these games. But before we do that, there's a Bet River special I need to mention from the traders here. Ipswich Town versus Crystal Palace. Both teams to score over 2.5 goals is at +112. That is a Bet River special. And Leicester City versus West Ham, at least 1 goal scored in the first 25 minutes is at -110. So these are raised odds. You can get, if you like that, it doesn't mean you have to bet on it, but if you do like that, then absolutely get on and take advantage of these offers. Ipswich against Crystal Palace then. And I've got to say, for my personal opinion, I think this is a really tough game, and I won't be betting on the game. I'm going to tell you where the money is now. Actually, let me just put the odds back on screen, because Ipswich Town are now +220. There's been a drift on Ipswich. Palace have been backed into +123. The tie is at +245. Over 2.5 goals is now at -104. So there's been a little bit of money on the under here. 81% of the money line money is on Palace, but only 73% of the tickets. So this is more split than you think. In terms of over-under money, we've got 85% of the money is on the over. I know from watching that Premier League show that the over isn't what you guys liked in this game. And you had a great 2-unit pick winner at the weekend on Ipswich unders. I think the question I'm going to ask you here, right? This time last year, Ipswich in the Championship. Anyone thinking about betting unders on their games, you need to rethink it, don't you? Because they were so wide open, it was crazy, it was exciting.
Yeah.
And Palace, from where they were in the last 10 games of last season, you would expect them to be minus money in this sort of fixture. So both teams, I think, have changed from where they were. Where do you see Ipswich now? Because, of all the promoted teams, they have adapted better, I think. They are changing their game week in, week out. I think against Man United, I was really impressed. Are they going to have that same approach, do you think, against Palace?
They are looking to change things around a little bit. I think one of the elements of McKenna is that he wants to be the manager that isn't just going to stick to his guns like we saw Vincent Kompany. It all went wrong for him, didn't it? And Russell Martin, of course, this season is doing much the same sort of thing at Southampton. The talk is, of course, that McKenna is looking at games, trying to be a little bit different, attack them a little bit differently. And they should have beaten Man United, but there comes the problem, isn't it? They've not got goal scorers, and they are very hard to come by at this level. Yes, they've spent 20 million quid on Delap, but he's a kid who has come through the Manchester City Academy, and he's only done a few bits and pieces in the Championship. So it's very tough to then go in there, feed off scraps to a certain extent. And I don't think they'll get the space that they got against Manchester United in this one. Palace will look to keep it a little bit tighter. I can assume the money's come from Palace because there's confirmation that Ezer's playing again in this one. He's a massive influence for them, of course. And someone did mention Ismail Assar there, who has started to show signs of what we used to see from him as well. So they have got those flair players. They just need to get it harnessed together and make the most of it. So, I watch the video and you'll see what I think on the goal line in that one. If I had to pick on the money line, I'd probably sit right on the fence and I'd go for a tie.
It's the first league meeting since 2012, 2013. So these two teams are not familiar with each other. That's a long gap actually for these two teams. You wouldn't have thought that, would you?
This is the thing we get though, isn't it, Steve? We get those stats that go, "Oh, there hasn't been a goalless draw between these two sides since 1985." It's because they played each other like 4 times. So be wary of when you see those outlandish stats like that. Dig into the detail a little bit more. But it's a bit interesting one. Again, it's one that Ipswich will certainly be looking at and going, "We need to get a win here." It's against a side that are 2 places above them, but I think they're tied on points. They're on 9 points each, aren't they? Might be 1 point in it.
Yeah, I think. I mean, they're both beating Spurs. They've got that in common, but not much else to shout about really in terms of wins. Just looking at some of the comments here, Benjamin likes Sarr shot on target for Palace. Dan can't have Palace at that price. Ipswich plus the half goal for him. Ree says Ipswich on the draw no bet. Palace DMB under 3.5 says Effie. Ipswich no win at home. Palace no win away. Something has to give tonight. Draw. Reese would be the answer there. I mean, just for Palace backers or people who are thinking about backing Palace, what's changed really here for you, Jack? Because I mean, they were unbelievable back end of last season. They've only really lost one key player, as far as in my opinion, and that's Elise. But was he that important? Is that I mean, offensively, they seem to have maybe got a few things back recently, but just 2 clean sheets all season in the league. What's happened to Palace?
I think that he was important to them, but also it gave teams something else to think about and worry about. Obviously, they've got Ezer, and they can go and double up on him. But if they do that, then last season they'd potentially leave Elise. So I think just having that threat. Of course, last season they discovered Mateta as a goal machine. He struggled a bit this season, probably because of the workload that he had to put up with over the summer, because he was at the Olympics, wasn't he? I think there's a few issues there. And I do think that Anderson leaving the centre-back was a bigger problem than we expected. And there's obviously the talk about the other centre-back, Mark Gahey, having talks with Newcastle, or Newcastle being interested in him. So that unsettles the landscape. And also that's what Palace do, isn't it? We've seen how many times we've seen it where they have a manager comes in, be it Roy Hodgson, be it Patrick Vieira, be it Glasner, and they have a sensational start and then it just kind of falls apart. And that's sort of following this trend. I think he's a good enough manager that he will get this back, but it's a slow process, and they need to put some wins together to get away from the bottom of the table. That's for certain.
The dates. The 1st of March, 2025, is Oliver Glasner still in charge of Palace?
What was the date, sorry?
Do you think on the 1st of March, 2025, Oliver Glasner will be in charge of Palace?
Yes.
There you go. Faith in Oliver Glasner to turn things around after, it's not a great start for Crystal Palace. Leicester against West Ham. This is my sort of game. I'm looking forward to this match. This is the later kickoff. This is 3:15 Eastern, about as late as a Premier League match ever kicks off at any time of the year, actually. And Leicester now plus 190. The ties at plus 250. West Ham plus 138. There's been a little bit of money for West Ham here. Over 2.5 goals at minus 143. With these defences on show, Jack, I have got to be betting on the goals here. I like the goals in that German game, but I like the goals here as well. This is my second best bet of the day. Leicester, West Ham over 2.5 goals. I can't get away from that. There's a prop bet I like as well in the fixture, which I'm going to come to soon. 77% of the money is on West Ham and 74% of the tickets. Both teams to score as hit in each of the last 6 night matches between Leicester City and West Ham, which is a bit of a quirky stat. We've got Mohamed Kudus is coming back into West Ham availability here. That's big news. There's been an interesting player prop bet on him, one of the biggest player prop bets of the day, actually. But it's on him to have under 2.5 shot attempts. So that's an intriguing one, isn't it? I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't be doing that. I quite like him to come back and try and make an impact in this game. I was actually looking for him to score a goal. Again, if you've not watched the Premier League show, this match is discussed in detail. There's official picks and all sorts going on here. So I don't want to give out anything away.
Both me and Nigel have our hot dogs in this one, which would suggest that there's nothing stand out in the game, but there is a little bit of value flying around because we've gone for 2 separate hot dogs. So a little bit of a decent money. So we'll see what happens, and we can both win, which is nice.
Well, exactly. But we got you on the show here today. We can delve even deeper. We can have a look at a prop bet here that you like for the game. It involves a West Ham player. Tell us about it.
Yeah, he's a player that I do like to get involved with, especially when they're up against sides that do concede plenty of chances from set pieces. And that player is Thomas Souček. He's had 6 shots on target in his last 8 games. He obviously plays in a generally holding midfield role. He did score in his last away game, that header against Newcastle, when West Ham were very good, actually. Taking advantage of the fact that Newcastle weren't very good, but they did it and pulled out a nice win. So, yes, he's a threat in the air. Leicester aren't very good at defending set pieces. I watched their highlights of their game at the weekend against Brentford when they got smashed 4-1. They're all over the place. So much width, which will lighten up for Jared Bowen. And again, they will look to you assume, obviously, the one trouble we've got with this is it's Ruud van Nistelrooy's first official game in charge. So we're kind of a little bit of a finger in the air job on this one as to what he's going to do setup-wise. We can only assume he's going to go down a similar route that we saw in Holland and a similar route when he took over at Manchester United for the interim basis. He's been brought in clearly to attack. They want to see an attack-focused manager, a team that's going for it, which I think could certainly leave themselves very exposed to this West Ham side that have got Kudus, as you mentioned, Jared Bowen on the other side. They've got Paquetá, Crescencio Somerville will be about as well. Another player that I like, who probably won't start this week, as well, is Soler, who was at Valencia and PSG. So look at him for shots as and when he comes on, if he does start on the bench. But yeah, there's a few that I like with this. It'll be interesting to see the West Ham team, but I think they'll go and look to hit Leicester on the break, and they can cause them a few problems.
There's a bet I really like in the props here, the match props with Bet Rivers, and this is in the total shots market. Over 26.5 match shots at -136, settled using Opta data. I mean, the list of players you just mentioned there for West Ham, they've got one thing in common. They're quite individual, kind of selfish in some ways, and they love to have a shot. They will take the ball on, they'll dribble, and then they'll fire. Kudus is coming back. He's going to want to make an impact.
Yeah.
Bowen, I think Bowen really should be looking at targeting this defense. It's not a very good defense.
Yep.
So I think, West Ham's actual shot line itself is 14.5, which I think could cover. But a lot with shots can depend on match dynamics. Ruud van Nistelrooy is coming in. He was one of the best strikers that Europe's ever seen, right? We've seen him managing PSV. We've seen him briefly at Manchester United. He's an attack-minded manager. Simple as that. The first thing, he's not going to be working on defense on the training ground. He's not going to be been focusing on the set pieces, I don't think, either yet. He's
not had long, has he?
No, he's not had very long. He needs to make the first thing he needs to do is get the Leicester fans actually excited about soccer again. Because Steve Cooper, now I actually don't think sacking him solves any problem for them in terms of overall relegation. The squad for me isn't good enough. But one thing I'll say is I think there'll be a change in how they look. Cooper, I wouldn't be betting this shots if Cooper was still in charge, because his more natural thing was to be conservative and cagey. But I think Ruud will demand something from the players, and I think he'll say, "Do you know what? You don't score if you don't shoot. Have a crack." Yeah. You know, I'm coming from. There's guys like Buonanotte. He likes to have a go. Get Jordan. Well, maybe don't get Jordan Ayew shooting actually, but Jamie Vardy will have a go. So I think combined,
I think
these two
Matadidi's
teams
back, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it's bad news about the lad who did his ACL, but he wasn't regularly starting. I think he would have been handy. He'd have been a good player in the route. What's it, Fatawu? He would have gone well, I think, in this system. But I think it's going to be an offensive game. I think both teams are going to have a good crack. Massive week for both. I think Leicester have got Brighton coming up and then Wolves for West Ham. So it's huge. Then both teams need momentum here. They need to get themselves, some points on the board. And I do like the match shots. Kudus, if he starts, I think I'm gonna bet him to score. He's well over plus 200 here. I think he's a quality player. I really do rate Kudus. We've not obviously seen much of him this season because of the suspension. Just going through some final comments here before we go. Duncan says it's a prime Desmond Tutu sort of match. That's the sort of thing I could see. West Ham to score 2 and West Ham win. Both teams scored 3-1, says Brian. Over 3 goals, says Effie. Jack looking like he's about to reveal the new iPhone.
Yeah,
with the back.
Coming soon.
Bowen to score or assist. I think Bowen has a game as well. I think he's the one guy you can rely on as well. He's not going to. Sometimes some of these West Ham players down tools, but he's professional. He'll stay professional throughout.
It was going to be my hot dog to score this week, but I switched it to something else. So
he's a huge price. He's plus 200 and 230 to score any time. Jared Bowen against Leicester. That could look absolutely. Kudus is plus 280. I think both could definitely get something here. And thanks, Abdul. I did get the Wolfsburg game right at the weekend, but I didn't. I wish I'd had it as my hot dog on the show, but I didn't have it. Plus 450, I think it was. Shane's on about the Man City situation. We'll be talking about Man City tomorrow on the live show with Nigel Seeley's going to be on the live show tomorrow. So Saka, he's on about PFA Player of the Year as well. There's potentials there. Disky says West Ham game over and both teams to score. Yes, but that will do for today. I'm going to say, if you've not seen that Premier League show, do check it out. Subscribe to the newsletter as well. If you're new to the channel, give us a like, give us a subscription on YouTube. We very much appreciate that. The dojo, I think, if it's not out already, will be out this evening with Nigel and Neil. But Jack, we wish you well. I hope you get better soon. And well done for grinding through this one. Cash and winning tickets today.
Always helps.
And I'll be back tomorrow with our Director of Content, Nigel Seeley, is in the house. And we're going to be discussing more of the midweek Premier League card and whatever's going on around it in Europe. So gamble responsibly. Take care. See you tomorrow on Betting Weekly Live.